And without further ado, I would like to turn this over to Linda to talk about what OMB is doing and what's been accomplished in our first year.
Thank you very much, Fred. I am delighted to be here with you and all of my colleagues here at the table. Thank you all for coming to this early breakfast session and to hear about the exciting topic of internal controls and management controls, we like to remind people. I couldn't help but think when Fred pulled out his WorldCom pen that the materials that are in your package that really detail managing for results. You can look at those later. You don't have to pull those out and look at them now. But we did those with the sole intention of giving you some information about what are the objectives of our A123 internal controls effort, where are we now with those efforts, and what are our major challenges, and what we did achieve this year. And what I want to point to your attention, though, is the very first line of what are the objectives of A123, because it goes right along with Fred's WorldCom pen, to facilitate an effective internal control environment resulting in a culture steeped with integrity and accountability. If we went no further today and we only talked about integrity and accountability, and that is a result and can be a result of all of the efforts that are going on government-wide right now in internal controls, I would consider this a very, very successful gathering. Because what we are talking about when we're talking about management controls and digging deeper and rooting out things that we know need to be brought up and exposed and show transparency about, those are the kinds of things that we absolutely have to continue in our efforts government-wide to root out and expose and correct the kinds of things that are going to further help us to get the results that we need to attain. And what we've encouraged all the way along with the A123 internal controls efforts is for people to look deeper and broader at all of their processes. And one of the things that we're finding this year, and we found it 20 years ago, I might add, when we started at the Department of Education. Pat Bozzella followed me as the Deputy Undersecretary for Management at that time. And you mentioned the confirmations that I've had. This last confirmation, the committee actually wanted to see the documents that I had written. One of the documents was a document that I produced when we were at the Department of Education, and it was on internal controls, how you can do them better and how you can be more effective with your internal controls. So we've been working at this for a very long time, I like to remind people, in government. But it's only this last year when we've had a huge concentration of effort. And the one thing I think that's helped us with, it's facilitated added communications between the program areas and the financial folks in the department. And that's a strength of this program. It's also something we have to continue to work much, much harder at over the next coming years. When we find weaknesses, we have to root them out, but we also have to lift them up and correct them. And one of the things that we've learned about the successful implementation, the departments that have done the best with their implementation of internal controls are the departments where the senior management in the department has made every single effort to communicate the fact that management and internal control mechanisms are a priority in that department. They don't say, oh, we'll make it a priority when we get a new IT system and can help us do it better. No. I remind people that when I was in the banking business many, many years ago, we got clean audits, and we had to do some of it on 3x5 cards. So don't think you have to have all new systems in order to make things work. You do have to have controls, and you do have to have effective controls, but you mainly have to have senior management support for the efforts that you're trying to arrive at. I think what we've also seen during this past year is a greater working relationship between the program offices. The committees that sit down together, the task forces that sit down together to work through internal control efforts have an added appreciation for others' work in the agencies and departments. And I think that what we also have seen is the departments who've done the best with this have considered it more than a check-the-box exercise. They have looked at this and said, we know we need better results. How can we use this mechanism to really achieve better results? I think one of the other things we've seen is the departments that have done the best are the ones when the exposure is made of a control that's needed. They've said, we are attacking this with vigilance, and we're not letting it go until it's rooted out completely, and we're going as deep as we need to go to figure out what the root of this problem is and correct it. And I think the other departments that we've seen have embraced embraced everything that they're doing. They've taken all the puzzle pieces of the mechanisms that they already have in place and figured out ways to interlock them together and to work together and leverage what they're already doing. I think one of the things that we're going to work on from OMB is we're going to make an extra effort this coming year to use some of the lessons learned that people have in the departments and agencies uncovered this year, things that have worked the best in the departments, and facilitate that best sharing practices. And we're going to be looking for some of you who are out there and have opportunities to help us do that, to help us figure out better ways to communicate that throughout government. But we're not really to November 15th yet. Between now and November 15th, we have still some work to do in the federal government. Everybody's working really, really hard on their audits and their PARs. And as you recall, last year, for the very, very first time ever in the history of the federal government, all 24 agencies and departments that are affected by the CFO Act of 1990, those top 24 agencies and departments reported by November 15th. That is quite a record from in 2001 when we came in and agencies and departments were reporting 5 months on an average their audits and their performance and accountability reports. So we've got some great track records. We want to continue and build upon the things that we've already done. And what I would just conclude this portion with the idea that our internal and management controls on November the 15th or any other point in the year, that is not the end. That's the beginning. We've gone through, or will have gone through, one cycle. Some of the departments and agencies, unlike what was done in Sarbanes-Oxley and required in the private sector, where they had to get everything done in 1 year, we've learned from the efforts and the successes and some of the not so successful experiences of corporations. We went into this with having a foundation of knowing what worked for corporations and what didn't. And one of the things we heard from corporations was, well, we had to implement this thing so quickly. We had 1 year to get it done in. We spent a lot of money that we didn't need to spend if we had had opportunity to take a little bit longer. So we're giving our departments and agencies 3 years to actually implement this if they need to. But you know what? Some of them are doing it in 1 year. And stay tuned to November 15th because we're going to have some very good news for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda.